Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope everybody had a great weekend. So Donald Trump was interviewed over the weekend by Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. Went about exactly as I thought it would. She asked a lot of questions. She did a lot of follow-ups. She tried to press him on some issues that they never would have done for Joe Biden or Kamala Lala. But I think he seemed pretty polished. He seemed pretty poised. He seemed rested. You know, we haven't seen a whole lot from him since he's been posting a lot on True Social, making his picks, that kind of stuff. But we haven't seen a whole lot of him since he got elected after he gave his little acceptance speech and um. But he did an interview with this Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and like I said, he did fairly good. Like I said, he seemed polished, rested, all that good stuff. She asked him on a bunch of questions. Um, including deportation. Um, Asked about Hegseth and his FBI director pick on Cash Patel and Pam Bondi and weapon. He talked about the weaponization of the justice system against him, and she asked him about going after his political opponents using the DOJ for that, and he said no. But we're gonna get into a few things here. We'll check it out. Like I said, I thought he did pretty good. A couple of questions that she asked him that I thought were pretty. I don't know. We'll get into it. I'll show you. Check this out. So here's the little like I said, Kristen Welker. She's from Meet the Press, and we'll check this out here.
I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think we will. I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
That's pretty good. Look, um, he's right. He's right. Look, if you're gonna subsidize these other countries, especially Canada and Mexico, which are above and below, if we're giving them that much money, now I don't know. I thought about looking into this, but I didn't do it. How much money does Texas get? How much money does California get from the federal government? If we're subsidizing that much money to other countries and they're right above and below us, he makes a good point. Why not just become a country? Or not a country, I'm sorry. Why not just become a state? Become part of the United States and then subsidizing that much money, at least you're a part of the United States and we're still giving money to the United States instead of another foreign country. There's a lot of money going out of the U.S. A lot of money. We're just printing it and sending it away. So, and people wonder why inflation is so high. It's because we just keep giving money away. We don't have. Look, we paid a lot in taxes, but it's not this much. Look at how much we're giving to Ukraine all the time. Oh, it's crazy. All right. So they went on about move on to the deportation. She talked about the mass deportation that he wants to enact, and I've said it before. He says it here. You start with the criminals. Start with the ones that we have in jail. We have illegal immigrants in our jails, in our prisons, that we're paying for when they should just be sent back to their countries. So, check it out.
Let's talk about mass deportation, one of
Okay.
your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the statute.
And what's wrong with that?
Shen Yun brings 5,000 years of culture to the world stage.
Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It's within the 3-year period.
figure.
It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
The local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, I have it
you
on
don't
tape.
believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way,
raised the point.
The police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are,
You would
but everything's complicated.
Yeah, you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now. Look, there's no the fact that it's going to cost a lot of money shouldn't be a factor. Shouldn't sway anybody as to, oh well, it's going to cost too much money to deport that many people. Well, I mean, okay, but it's a lot of money. But take into consideration how much it costs the taxpayers. Anywhere from 100. This is an estimate now. It costs anywhere from $150 billion to $300 billion a year on the taxpayers in the U.S. for all the illegal immigration. Say a happy medium, you say just over 200,000, because the real number's not out there, but it's anywhere from 150 bill to 300 bill. That's a lot of money. Take into consideration that if you spend the money to put these people back into their own countries, especially the criminals. Like I said, you start with the ones that are in prisons and the jails. You start there, easy enough, and then from there you can go on to Colorado, like you said. You know where they're at. They're taking over apartment complexes. Go in, get them out, send them back. Easy. That's a good starting point. We can all agree on that. Whether or not it costs that much money to send them all back, I think in the long run it's going to save money because we're not going to the taxpayers aren't going to be funding these illegal immigrants that are staying here and living off of our dime. It's a good starting point, and I agree with it. So anyway, we'll go back to this. They're talking about the Dreamers. We'll just go back to it real quick and check it out.
This country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The Dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the Dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the Dreamers.
What does that mean?
And
what are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the Dreamers. The Dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people, and in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying?
I do.
Okay.
I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it because he controlled, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws, and in the end, look, our country is a mess.
Let me ask you about...
All right, look, it's always sad. It's always not, to have Dreamers and separation, it's never a good thing. But look, the fact of the matter is he said right out, look, Dreamers are not, these are the younger ones that had come in years prior. Now they're adults. There's a lot of them that have successful careers. There's a lot of them that started their own businesses that's maybe large or big at this point. But he's willing to work with Democrats and Republicans on keeping those people that have made lives for themselves here and keeping them here in the country who are productive to our society. And there's nothing wrong with what he said there. As far as the separation, you never like to see separation of families. But there's you can't deny the fact that there's a problem with immigration in this country as of this point, and something has to be done. I believe that they can work some things out and try and get it to where, maybe there's something that they can do as far as keeping families together, not deporting, because there's a lot of mixed, as she said, there's a lot of mixed immigration status within families that are living here in the United States, but there's something that we can work out. He can get some judges on some cases and figure some stuff out. Maybe the families that are considered illegals, but they have family members that are illegals, they can work something out to where they become citizens. There's options. I mean, and he seems pretty open to try and figure that kind of stuff out. So, and I'm okay with it. I mean, everything, like I said, he's saying everything. I agree with everything he's saying thus far. Um, he could have worded it better as far as the separation of the families. Saying that you'll show the woman crying and blah blah blah. I think he could have worded it better, but his overall gist of the whole thing is the fact that things can be done, and we're looking into options. He's willing to work with Democrats across the aisle to work things out and figure it out. So I think he's doing pretty good so far. And then okay, so the next one here is she asked him about Pete Hegseth, and I made a video about this before, saying that there was rumors going around that he was floating. Well, the names were floated about Ron DeSantis and Joni Ernst about maybe taking that spot. Joni Ernst has come out and made a bunch of crazy, wild stuff. I think she heard her name get floated. This is just my opinion, but she heard her name get floated for Secretary of Defense, and she got all excited and wants that job. So she's kind of bashing on Hegseth, and I don't think, but President Trump is sticking with Pete, and I agree with the decision just because of the fact, like I said before in the previous video, if you keep giving up your picks, they'll keep coming for the next one and the next one, and after that, you got to stick with it. You got to let them know that you're not going to be swayed just because they keep coming at you with allegations that in most cases aren't even true. So I like the fact that he's sticking with his guns, especially with Pete. I think he'll do a good job, and like I said, he needs to stick with it, and I'm glad he is. But we'll take a look at this. This is, like I said, this is her asking about Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel for FBI director, and we'll take a look at this.
In our interview, President-elect Trump defended some of his cabinet picks, including his embattled choice for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Hegseth, an Army veteran, is facing allegations of past sexual misconduct and excessive drinking, which he denies. Mr. Trump told me he has confidence in Hegseth. I also asked him about his choice for FBI Director Kash Patel, a hardline critic of the very agency he's been tapped to lead. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. Yeah. He has a list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray. You campaigned on destroying the deep state. Do you want Kash Patel to launch investigations into people on that list?
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's right, sir?
If they think that somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But
are you going to direct him to do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there. We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair.
Look, he's saying right here that he's straight up telling her, look, I'm not going to direct them to do anything. He's putting them into a position to do a job. It's going to be their job. If they want to go after him, that's on them. He's not going to be directing them to do anything. He's going to be focused on his job as the president, and he's going to let them focus on their job in the positions that he's nominated them for, after they get confirmed. But they can do the job that they've been selected for, and he can do his job. He wants people in there that he can trust so that they will do the job. He's not going to direct them to do anything. But she's trying to pull that out of him, saying that, you understand what I'm saying. But that's what she's trying to do, and he's not having it. He said he's going to let them do what they do, and he's going to do his job. So we'll continue.
And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be difficult because he's, a strong conservative voice. And I don't know of anybody that's not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart and very respected in the party, he's Kash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. You know Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, just like him, others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have broken the law, probably. They went after me, They went after me and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden...
So he's pretty much telling her, look, I'm not gonna pull no shenanigans. It's gonna be up to them, and they can do what they do. So anyway, they get into the get into the whole weaponization of the government, of the DOJ rather, and they get into it a little bit here, and he straight up tells her, look, what was done to me was wrong, and so here we can get into this here, and this is him saying, look, they came after me. I'm not going to do the same thing. It's going to be up to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel on what they want to do. So
because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision, and to a different extent, Kash Patel, assuming they're both there. And I think they're both going to get approved. But while you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that.
No,
sir.
wait. You can't do one
it's
without
true.
the
It
other.
is.
In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you what they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything else. And in the end, it probably helped me because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
I think it did.
Pam Bondi talks about investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith investigated?
Well, I think he's very corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she has to do.
Are you going to direct her to prosecute Jack Smith?
She's a very smart person. She was a great attorney general in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it, no.
Sir.
So every time, look, she keeps pushing the whole. Look, are you gonna push them? Are you gonna instruct them? Are you gonna direct them? She keeps pushing it, and he keeps saying, no, I'm not gonna be directing them to do anything like that. It's gonna be up to them if they want to do it. And he stayed true to it, because she asked him several times throughout the entire interview, and he stayed with it. He said, no, I am not gonna be telling them to do this. If they do it, it's gonna be on their own. It's got nothing to do. Look, I'm telling you, personally, I think they should be investigated, just because of the fact that you got people from January 6th that are still sitting in prison because they got invited into, they were invited in by the Capitol Police into the Capitol, and they're still in prison. People who did nothing wrong but walk around inside that building. You shouldn't be sitting in prison for 3 years for a trespassing charge. Call me crazy, but that's what I think. Anyway, so they went on. They talked about the Trump pardoning himself after Joe Biden has come out and pardoned his son, and there's rumors about him preemptively pardoning himself along with others, so that Trump doesn't prosecute them once he does get in office. I don't see it happening. Like he just said, he's not going to be going after anybody personally. He said several times on several different occasions that success is going to be his revenge, and that's what he wants. He wants America to be successful. So, and we'll get into this one. This is, like I said, this is the one about the pardoning. So let's check it out.
I asked you last time we sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter, are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
I didn't do anything
No.
wrong. I was given the option. And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high up in the administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty. And you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of legal fees, but it turned out that I was right. Look at what's gone on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fani Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped.
All right. He makes a good point. I mean, like I said, I mean, if you got nothing, if you did nothing wrong, why would you pardon yourself? It's a good point. At the same time, you know what's coming after. Look, once he finishes this 4 years, who's to say? Maybe they'll just let him go quietly into the night. I don't think they will. I think they're vindictive, and I think they're petty. I don't think that because look, he's done after this. He's got these 4 years now. He can't run again. Let him finish his 4 years out, unless they. I mean, the only thing is he can endorse some people. He can back people now. He's been president. You know, this is his second term. Once he finishes this up, he can back the next candidate, whether it be J.D. Vance or DeSantis or somebody else. You know, he could back somebody, and that could boost their, their chances or whatever. Maybe they're afraid of that. I just don't see them letting it go. Once he's out of office again, I think they'll come right back after him. So it kind of weighs on both sides. He didn't do anything wrong. Does he want to spend a lot of time in court and wasting his time after he's done with the presidency again? You know, legal fees, sitting in court all this time. Does he want to do that, or should he just pardon himself? I don't know. It's a tough call because, like you said, if you do it, you do look guilty. But on the other hand, they weaponize everything. They could just try and come after him again once he's out of office again. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation for President Trump anyway. So anyway, they talked about this is President Trump. She asked about January 6th, about him pardoning the January 6th people. I think they should. Look, I'm going to be completely 100% honest with you. If you were at the Capitol and you did something wrong, you should be punished for it. There's a lot of stuff that happened at that Capitol on January 6th that was wrong. Was it an insurrection? No. No, it was not. But if you assaulted a police officer, broke something, vandalism, trespassing, anything like, yes, you should be punished. Should you spend 3 years in prison for it? No. No. I think the people that have been wrongly accused should have compensation. I think that you should let them out of prison. There's a lot of stuff, and it should be looked at on a case-by-case basis, individual persons, all that stuff, and he goes into that. I completely agree with what he says. So we'll take a look at this. Let's see. Hold on, give me just a second here. There we go.
I asked the president-elect if he plans to follow through on his campaign promise to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, including the more than 900 people who pleaded guilty to crimes.
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been...
Look, they've been in prison long enough. Don't let the people, especially the ones who did nothing wrong, they should not be sitting in prison any longer. No longer. They should be out now. But anyway.
How long is it? 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
By the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Yes, completely agree. Look, like I said, they shouldn't shouldn't be in a prison, especially if they did nothing wrong. As I said before, if they assaulted a police officer, vandalized something, broke something, let them be punished for it. Especially like vandalism and trespassing. When was the last time somebody got sent to prison for trespassing? Spend a night in jail? Maybe, perhaps. They don't get sent to prison for 3 years for trespassing. It's ridiculous. These people should not be in prison. They need to be let out as soon as possible. They should have never went there in the first place. And it's disgusting. This is the weaponization of the justice system, not just against President Trump, but against his followers. Like I said, there was a lot of, I'll be the first one to tell you, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened at that building that shouldn't have happened, and the people that did do wrongdoing should be punished accordingly, not unjustly. That's my 2 cents on that. Anyway, they talk about NATO, and look, I'm gonna tell everybody. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't like NATO. I don't like it. I think we pay other countries way too much money. They don't put. You're supposed to have a certain amount of your GDP going into NATO. Other countries don't do it. They started to get caught up the last time President Trump was in office, just because he told them, "Look, if you don't pay your fair share, we're not going to be backing you. We're going to pull out, and we're not going to have nothing to do with you." That incentivized these other countries to start getting caught up. Now, after he left office, they went back to their same old stuff where they weren't paying their fair share, and America's fronting the bill for everybody else. Look, if you want to have America as an ally in NATO, you got to pay your fair share, and you can't expect the U.S. to front the bill for NATO. It's not the way this is supposed to work. And President Trump had it coming back to where it was supposed to be last time. Hopefully he can get it back to where it needs to be this time. Honestly, I think it's stupid. I don't but that's just my opinion. And yeah. So we'll check this out. This is them talking about NATO now.
Will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taken advantage of us because we were look, 2 things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations, okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. It's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude. I said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than $600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. Money. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if
I'm different, but that's just me. But I'm okay with the fact that he straight up said if they want to pay their fair share and make sure that they're paying what they're supposed to into NATO, then we'll stay in NATO. And I'm fine with that. I don't like NATO, but that, like I said, that's just me. And if they're actually paying their fair share, that's something that I can be okay with. Still don't like NATO, but if at least they're paying their fair share and they're not letting us front the bill. That's my opinion on that. Anyway, so the next, look, this is the last one I'm just going to show y'all because it's getting a little late. I got to get my butt to work, but check this out. She asks him, this is at the end of it, about his age, asking if he would release his medical transcripts or documents or whatever it was to the public so that they can be seen, so that everybody can have the sense of ease because he's older, that he's in medical fit, shape in order as like mental capabilities, physical stature, that kind of stuff. She asks him this after everybody else for the last 4 years was talking about how, President Biden's mental decline. And her being one of the people in the mainstream media saying that Joe Biden is just fine, his mental capacity is just fine, and there's nothing to worry about. But then she's going to ask him if he can release his medical transcripts to put the American minds at ease so that they know that he's mentally and physically fit at his age to run the country. It's a little hypocritical, pretty ironic that she, like I said, she was one of the ones that kept saying that Joe Biden was just fine, but then she's going to ask President Trump this. So it's just, like I said, it definitely, here we go.
Will be the oldest person to be sworn into office. Do you commit to releasing your medical records?
Sure, I do it all the time. I think I've released 4 of them.
Not just a letter, though, your full medical report.
Yeah, I would, and I think anybody should, but I mean, according to all the reports, I don't want to, where's wood? Is there some wood where I can knock on wood? But my reports are very good, very strong.
So you plan to release
Sure,
them?
I have no problem with it.
He doesn't have a problem with it. Like I said, I've, anyway, like I said, I think he did a good job. He did a good job as far as, like, he stayed on point. He didn't let her sway him into anything that he did get offensive a couple times, but not to the point where it was just like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? But like I said, I think he was poised. He seemed relaxed. He seemed pretty well rested. I mean, he's been, like I said, we haven't seen him for a little bit, but I figured after that he's been campaigning for the last couple of years now. So, look, guy deserves a little bit of a rest before he goes in and takes office next month, and it looks pretty good. I mean, I thought it was a good interview. He did really well, and tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know if there was anything else in there that I missed. But appreciate you hanging out through my rants. If you like what you saw, hit that follow, subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. And God bless.